Hey guys, you ready to get your brain cows milked? Today in this video we will be covering the topic, the one and only fear of communism. We'll be doing the Cold War 8.2, 8.3 the Red Scare, 8.1 just contextualizing the whole chapter, 8.8 Vietnam, and then 8.7 America as a world power. Starting off with 8.1 contextualizing the period. We were at a time in America where we wanted to fulfill the Reconstruction era, complete the New Deal, and there was a variety of movements emerging, like civil rights movements, women's rights movements, many different. And the US culture was constantly changing. Right now, at the time, America's number one fear was that our identity is going to change with all these new immigrants. We didn't want it to change. We were also trying to protect America from communism, and we wanted more markets to open, but not with the fear of communism.
Some visuals and documents that include this topic would first be the Truman Doctrine, and this established that the United States would provide military, economic, or political support to any democratic nation under the threat from external or internal authoritarian forces. And then next is the Iron Curtain speech, and this was given by the former Prime Minister Winston Churchill in Britain. And he basically said that the United States and Britain, they have to act as guardians of peace and stability if they want to go against like the Soviet Union and the communism and everything like that.
Now we're on to the Marshall Plan, which was a U.S. program that gave help to Europe after World War II. And this was very beneficial to the United States due to them being able to spread their ideas of democracy and capitalism, especially with the upcoming problem of the Cold War. So following containment was interventionism and the domino theory. Interventionism was the matter of the United States getting involved in foreign relations in other foreign countries to stop communism from spreading there and to spread their capitalistic and democracy ideals. And so the domino theory involves the Soviet Union spreading their communism to other nations, which was almost like a domino effect after one country, which that country spread to another and so on. And so America wanted to stop this so that communism would not spread to them and would not spread to the whole world. And so that was America's goal, like primary goal during this time of the Cold War.
On to the Cold War, which is from 1945 to 1980, and which was a rivalry between America and the Soviet Union involving America's capitalistic ideals and the Soviet Union's communism ideals. And so the reason why there was such a rivalry was because America didn't want the Soviet Union's communism to spread, so they tried to contain it. And so America's main goal was to obviously stop the spread of communism, and which also leads us to the military action from America, including taking stances in Korea, which was to kind of portray to Korea their capitalistic ideals instead of them being taken over to communism by the Soviet Union. And so an example of this would be the U.S. and the Soviet Union relations in 1945, which led to suspicion and no trust, which was kind of like the beginning of the Cold War, which kind of led to the Cold War. And so it was between the two nations, and it was due to the United States late entry in World War II, which kind of made the Soviet Union become very suspicious, because they believed that the U.S. entered late to kind of kill as many Russians as possible, which is why there was no trust between the two nations.
Moving on to 8.3 the Red Scare. So the fear of communism was constantly spreading in America now. Most citizens were very fearful. Specifically, the older generation was really hating and very scared of this. So it kind of caused Americans to try and expose each other to rat out any other communists in the country. But America at the same time still wanted economic prosperity by maintaining their capitalistic ideals, because that's what they believed would get them the most successful. So an example of this would be the Rosenberg's case. So this happened around when the Soviets, they were testing their first atomic bomb in 1949. Many Americans were convinced that spies had helped them get that because they got their technology so quickly in advance. Americans were confused how it was so similar. So eventually, a spy ring was traced to Julius Ethel Rosenberg, who was eventually found guilty and executed in 1953. She had been giving secrets to the Soviets from America's technology.
Which also leads us to America as a world power, and that is 8.7. And so this all kind of started when communism struggles went to Latin America, which kind of put America on its toes, because they don't want communism to spread. So they tried to become a world power and kind of, like I said before, stop the spread of communism and intervene in other nations to portray their capitalistic ideals. And so as the U.S. supported the non-communist decisions, they were also spreading their capitalistic ideals along with it. And so an example of this would be the Eisenhower Doctrine, which was when the U.S. would use armed forces upon request and response to imminent or actual aggression to the U.S.
So now moving on to 8.8, which is mainly focuses on Vietnam and the whole Vietnam War. So eventually America did enter the war to prevent Vietnam from just becoming a general communist country. So prevent the spread of it. So America fought with South Vietnam against North Vietnam, which was for communism. So then eventually, after a few years of fighting, the US did withdraw from Vietnam, which led to eventually them unifying under communism, North Vietnam taking control of that. And then in this point, now America, the containment was still their goal for communism.
And which also leads us to some examples. So the Vietnam protests, it was a really great inspiration to others to do the same to support their causes, which also leads us to the youth culture, and it gets their impact out into the community. And for example, let's just say someone was fighting for the spread of democracy. They would be inspired by the Vietnam protests to protest democracy. And so, which also leads us to the Vietnam hippies, which were anti-war and anti-communism people.
Thank you for watching this. Our next one coming up, we'll be talking about just the youth culture and rebellions. Thank you.